Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you. No, thank you. It's okay. So we're going to be going through the third ruku' today of Surah Baqarah. And we're just waiting for the Awais now to unmute his microphone. Inshallah, we'll make a start. So something I need to mention now, brothers and sisters. We had a really good suggestion from a completely anonymous person. In fact, they went through about 3 people to get to me, that it might be good to have the translation up as we go. So I'm going to do that, inshallah. I'm going to put it up as we go. Surah Baqarah. Here we go. Okay, so we are going to be going from ayah 21. Ya ayuhan nas, through to the end of ayah 29 today.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء وأنزل من السماء ماء فأخرج به من الثمرات رزقا لكم فلا تجعلوا لله أندادا وأنتم تعلمون وإن كنتم في ريب مما نزلنا على عبدنا فأتوا بسورة من مثله وادعوا شهداءكم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين فإن لم تفعلوا ولن تفعلوا فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة أعدت للكافرين وبشر الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أن لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار كلما رزقوا منها من ثمرة رزقا قالوا هذا الذي رزقنا من قبل وأتوا به متشابها ولهم فيها أزواج مطهرة وهم فيها خالدون إن الله لا يستحيي أن يضرب مثلا ما بعوضة فما فوقها فأما الذين آمنوا فيعلمون أنه الحق من ربهم وأما الذين كفروا فيقولون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا يضل به كثيرا ويهدي به كثيرا وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين الذين ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك هم الخاسرون كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا فأحياكم ثم يميتكم ثم يحييكم ثم إليه ترجعون.
And just ayah 29 as well, inshallah.
هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا ثم استوى إلى السماء فسواهن سبع سماوات وهو بكل شيء عليم.
Jazakallah khair for beautiful recitation. Let us go through this then, everyone. Starting from ayah 21, inshallah. يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم والذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون الذي جعل لكم الأرض فراشا والسماء بناء. Okay, I want to concentrate first on ayah 22, my brothers and sisters. Allah mentions who is the person or who is the entity that created for you the earth and the sky. What we don't realize, my brothers and sisters, oftentimes, is to look around us. And that's what it takes, honestly. Think about it for a second. When was the last time we were just grateful for the earth that we have? When was the last time we thought about the sky that we have? When was the last time we contemplated the creation of Allah as it should be contemplated? I don't know about you, my brothers and sisters, but when I go to remote parts of the UK, even as simple as the UK, or parts of Scotland at times, I find the beauty of it just magnificent. When I see these sceneries, when I see these landscapes, wallahi, that's when it really hits me. That's when it strikes a chord in my heart. Who created this except Allah? Only Allah can make the sunset so beautiful. Only Allah could have made the sky as it is. Who keeps the birds flying in the sky, my brothers and sisters? I'm not talking about a physical explanation going to laws and quantum physics, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about who created the bird and kept it aloft. Taking gravity out of it, taking all the physics out of it just for a second. Who is keeping this bird afloat except Allah? When we look around us, nothing else is a greater sign. Honestly, there is no greater sign than just walking outside of your house and looking up. Going into the countryside and looking around. Going to the top of a mountain and just looking straight ahead. What more of a sign do we need? Allah mentions here, He's the one who spread out the earth for us. He built the sky. Without the ozone layer, we would have been long gone. The rays of the sun are obliterating, my brothers and sisters. Who's stopping so many things in the world and outside of the world from killing us instantly? Allah. Allah sent water down from the sky. Allah has sent so much down from the sky. Allah has sent so much in our lives. Yet, when was the last time we were grateful for it? If there's only one message that we take away today, my brothers and sisters, I don't care if you don't listen to the rest of it. Take away this. Gratitude will change our lives. Wallahi, gratitude changes our lives. Think about the last time you really put your head down on the ground. You really put your head down on the ground in gratitude to Allah. Out of nothing but love for Allah. Take the fear out of your heart for half a second. When was the last time we put our heads down just to say thank you? Remember that time? Think about it. Not just a rhetorical question, genuine question. Think about it. Now imagine it. Tell me that wasn't the best salah you've ever prayed in your life. And if you've never prayed a salah like that, do it tonight. I don't care if you just do one ayah, my brothers and sisters. Let's just do one ayah, take the tafsir and end this right now. End it, go and pray salah. We don't need to make this a 1 hour tafsir session. Let's take one thing and do it. Tonight, my brothers and sisters, do what my teacher taught me. And I don't always do it. In fact, I've forgotten for months. But today, thanks to you, brothers and sisters, I'm remembering myself. Mufti Liaqat, he told us that his teacher once recommended to him, you should pray 2 rak'ats. You should pray 2 rak'ats with no intention except just to say thank you. Try it. Try it tonight. Try it once we end this session. Pray 2 rak'ahs, nafal, for nothing else except to say thank you for everything Allah has given you. And watch if you don't cry in that salah. Watch when you put your head down on the ground and you say, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, glory be to the one who is the most high, whilst you are at your most low. Think about it. You are at the most low you can possibly go. Humanity cannot go lower than putting the highest point. What is the highest point that you have? Your head. You wouldn't put your feet towards someone's head. Why? Because it's so honorable, so venerated, so respected. That thing which is so elevated amongst our people, we put it on the ground, the lowest we can go. And we say, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, glory be to the one who is the most high. When we've degraded, for want of a better term, when we put ourselves to the lowest point that we can possibly go. That is when we realize, my brothers and sisters, the real meaning of gratitude. It changes our lives. It really does. Allah goes on to say, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Do not set up rivals to Allah whilst you know what you're doing. Now, you might think, but that's easy. That's not difficult at all, right? I don't have partners with Allah. I don't set up rivals to Allah at all. I'm a good Muslim. I'm sure you are, brothers and sisters. I'm sure that's your intention all the time. But what does the word ilah mean? The word ilah, and by extension, the word Allah, which they're interconnected. And okay, let's just take the word ilah for a second. The word ilah, my brothers and sisters, and you see it come in the Quran a few times, is the one worthy of worship, or that being, or that entity that you worship. But what does it mean to worship? You might say, I don't worship idols, I don't worship anything except Allah. And I'm sure that is your intention, but what does it mean to worship something? To worship something, my brothers and my sisters, isn't to put a stone in front of you, carve it out into an idol, and then pretend, or purport to worship this creation that you've made. Idolatry isn't so explicit. Worship can be subtle. Worshipping, my brothers and sisters, and this is what it boils down to, is that which you give your life to, or that which you give all your time to. Think about that for a second. What does it mean to worship something? To give all of your time to it, to give your energy to it, to give your blood, sweat, and tears to it. That is worship. What do we spend our days doing? If you can figure that out, think about, what do you spend your entire day doing? What is it that's always on your mind 24/7? That's what worship is. I'm not saying you worship something other than Allah, but I'm saying, think about where your time is going every single day. What are you thinking about? Is it money? Oftentimes for us, it's money. We're chasing money, we're chasing money, we're chasing money. What is the difference between us chasing money, thinking about money all the time? Nothing else is in our lives except money, money, money. And the person who worships and gives all their time to a creation other than Allah, when we are so infatuated with the dunya, my brothers and my sisters, we're not calling it worship, we're not even considering it worship, but what is it except giving all of our time and life to things, this dunya, other than Allah? And when we realize that worshipping something is actually just giving all your time to it, we'll realize we're giving our time to so many things other than Allah. I want to concentrate on ayah 24. And then it goes on to say, what is the fire? The fire is that which is being prepared for the disbelievers, whose fuel is men and stones. Now let's take the previous ayahs that we did and take away the whole dimension of, that which you give your time to is that which you worship, and just take the on the surface translation, which is, idols. Allah was talking about idols. Of course, He was talking about idols. People do worship idols. They worship other than Allah. Allah is talking about idols here. These idols, interestingly, very interestingly, are a type of stone, are they not? And what does Allah say in ayah 24? Think about this. Beautiful connections. The fuel of that hellfire is men and stones. Now, stones can be any type of stones. But what are idols made of? Stones as well. It's almost as though Allah is building up this argument regarding these stones that essentially they carve themselves and worship. And then What is going to be the fuel of the fire? Human beings who worshipped other than Allah and the stones that they worshipped themselves. And wallahi, I think it's something that we really need to reflect on, my brothers and my sisters. None of us can guarantee we're going to die upon Islam. Inshallah, we do. None of us can guarantee we're going to die upon Islam. We need to remember Jahannam. We need to remember Jannah, but we also need to remember Jahannam. Because if we don't have a balance and we're always talking about Jannah, we're always talking about Jannah, we're always talking about Jannah, we do forget that Jahannam is real and Jahannam is waiting and the fire is there. The world is a test, 100%, no doubt about it. But we have to forget that if we mess up in this test, there are consequences. Allah's not going to, inshallah, put us there. I'm not saying you're going to Jahannam. I'm saying don't forget that it exists. I wanted to move on. See, inshallah, I want to keep these a bit smoother and a bit shorter. So let's move swiftly on, inshallah, to ayah number 25. Glad tidings to those who believe and they do good actions. Now, we are going to talk about Jannah, because what is Islam without Jannah, as well as the conceptualization of the hellfire. We talk about our paradise that Allah has promised us. And sometimes, actually, I really want to say this, sometimes we don't remember it enough. You know, we can be of two extremes. Some Muslims you meet that they'll always talk about Jahannam. And in fact, some Muslims you meet that will always have a frown on their face. And they will always walk around being angry at the youngsters, for example. This puts people off Islam. Understand this now. If you become that person, whether you realize it or not, if you become that person who's always frowning and criticizing and rebuking and lampooning, and you name the negative term, you do it, you're pushing people away from Islam. You might think you're doing a good thing, but really, you're pushing people away from Islam if you're that strict all the time. And I can be that as well. We can all be that. We don't realize when we're doing it. But on the other hand, if we overly treat everything as nonchalant and lackadaisical, and it's okay to do this, Allah's going to forgive you, Allah's going to forgive you, Allah's going to forgive you. If you overly do this and you say, let's just think about Jahannam, let's just talk about the good things, and you take away the Jahannam side of it and you take away the negatives that are real, you're also doing an injustice to Allah and to His religion. So we need a balance here, my brothers and my sisters. Now, let's talk about Jannah for a second. Allah mentions regarding Jannah that it has flowing streams, gardens graced with flowing streams. Why does Allah mention rivers so much? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Why does Allah always talk about rivers, and a river of water and a river of honey and a river of milk? And why do rivers come so much in the Quran? What were the Arabs, my brothers and my sisters? They were the people who the Quran was revealed to, but essentially they were a desert-dwelling people. And the Quran, first and foremost, came down to the Arabs. Yes? What did the Arabs have more love for than pure, fresh, flowing water? And to live in that type of a climate and to have access to fresh, flowing, clear, pure water was a godsend. There's no other way of putting it. That is true manna. That is a heavenly thing. So for them, this was the epitome, the exemplar, if you will, of perfection, of paradise. So this is the symbol, the motif for them. However, we don't need to limit it there. Whenever we read these ayahs about flowing rivers and all these amazing things that Jannah have, we can change the image to whatever we think is perfect and amazing and what we want for in Jannah. Does that make sense? This symbolism, my brothers and my sisters, was for the Arab people, but that doesn't limit Jannah to just flowing rivers. It's the premise behind it. It means, my brothers and my sisters, in Jannah, you'll get whatever you want. That will be the time when the hardships will go. That is the time when the sorrow will leave. That is the time you're going to be reclaimed with your loved ones, inshallah al-aziz. Why do I say this? Because I know for a lot of people, my brothers and my sisters, the one thing we really want, and the one thing that really makes us realize that this world is nothing but a deception sometimes, is when we lose our loved ones. But use this. Think about that grandfather you lost so many years ago, and you do anything to get him back. Think about him and think that I'm going to meet him again in Jannah. I believe in my Lord and I believe in these things. I'm going to reunite with him again. If that's what it takes, my brothers, to really put Jannah in your mind, use it. But put Jannah in your mind. When you pray, my brothers and my sisters, the scholars say, pray as though you can see Jannah ahead of you. Pray as though you're putting the hellfire behind you, putting the dunya behind you. Imagine, if you're not imagining our goal, then this world will just seem like an endless path to nowhere. We have to imagine where we're heading, my brothers and my sisters. We have to do all the right actions on the journey to Jannah. That is how we have to treat this dunya. And only that way will we do the right actions to move along this motorway. Think about it. It's a journey, is it not? The end destination is Jannah. You need to take the right path. So imagine whatever you need to imagine to get yourself there in the end. Thank you for nodding along. Okay. Oh, I'm too loud. Okay, never mind. I completely misread that nod. Moving along. Mujahid says, my brothers and my sisters, regarding this last part of this ayah, where Allah mentions that we're going to have pure spouses in Jannah. We're going to have pure spouses, mutahhara, and in it, they're going to stay forever. Mujahid mentions regarding this, what does he mean by pure spouses? Pure spouses can mean lots of things, of course. Jannah is what you want it to be, okay? The scholars mentioned you can have anything in Jannah. You want a flying car, you can have a flying car. Why not? Right? You can have what you want in Jannah. But one thing everyone's going to want is a completely infallible, essentially, or perfect, yes, flawless spouse. Everyone wants it. Of course we do. And alhamdulillah for the spouses that we have in this world. But Mujahid mentions what makes the spouses different in the next world is the following. They're going to be free from things such as menstruation. They're going to be free from things such as spitting, from the call of nature. Mujahid mentions they're going to be free of things like pregnancies and even semen for men. Why? Because marriage, alhamdulillah, is a beautiful contract and it is a beautiful institute. We know this. However, oftentimes when you think about marriage and you take all the positives, negatives come into mind. And these negatives, when it comes to marriage and when it comes to your spouses, are often to do with bodily functions and things that, along with the emotions that can come, things that are essentially dirty at times. In Jannah, there's none of this. Take all of the negatives away, and particularly take away all bodily fluids, because without menstruation and without pregnancies, life becomes so much easier, especially for the females. And there might be a lot of sisters out there who think, alhamdulillah, I love my husband, but you know what, he's spitting. I can't handle it when he spits all the time, right? This is a reality. Some men do it. They shouldn't, but they do. In Jannah, there's none of this. There's none of these bodily fluids, because they are oftentimes the thing we find disgusting. They're gone. This is just one example of the beauty of our spouses, and Allah makes that a really beautiful symbolism here. I think we'll end with ayah 26 inshallah, because it is already 24. So, Inna Allah la yastahi ay yadriba mathalan ma ba'uda. Allah's not shy in giving you any kind of parable, any kind of comparison, any kind of similitude here. Allah's not shy, even if He gives you the example of something as small as a fly or a gnat. Allah isn't inferior to the creation. Allah can give an example, even if you think it's not an amazing example, it does not matter to Allah. For Allah, this is His book, my brothers and my sisters. Now, why does Allah mention this? Because oftentimes you have to understand, in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, the people who were always disparaging the Quran and belittling the Quran and saying, what is this ridiculous book that you have, O Muhammad? These people were always finding faults in it. Like anything you can imagine, they would criticize everything. But when we strip this back a little bit and think about it, if someone's always criticizing something and saying, oh, why does Allah use the example of a fly or the example of a gnat? Why does Allah do this? Why does Allah do that? Essentially, what we need to understand, my brothers and my sisters, people will always purport faults if they don't want to believe in the Quran. And this is what we really need to take away. If you don't want to believe, think about it for a second. If you don't want to believe, nothing you do is going to make them believe. If someone doesn't want to believe, nothing you do is going to make them believe. No matter how many arguments you put, no matter how many beautiful, eloquent ayahs you show them, they can criticize the Quran all day long. It doesn't take away from the majesty of Allah, even though so many people have done it in the past. When you approach the Quran with an open heart, tell me it doesn't change you. But when you approach the Quran, imagine, and we'll finish with this, when you approach the Quran deliberately, thinking to yourself, I'm not going to like what I see, or I'm not going to find benefit in it, you will not find benefit in it. If your intention going in is negative, what are you going to take out except negative? Does that make sense? If you go in wanting to be guided, is Allah going to do anything except guide you, my brothers and my sisters? I'm not saying the ayahs aren't full of guidance, even for those who don't believe, but I'm saying if you go in with nothing but hatred, you're already putting yourself on a path to fail. And this ayah particularly applied to those in the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who were looking into the Quran just to pick out faults. That doesn't matter, because if they don't want to believe in the Quran, they're not going to believe in the Quran no matter what happens. Allah even mentions it so many times later. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun, for example, and many other surahs. I think we'll end there, inshallah. Actually, let's do 28 and finish on 28. كيف تكفرون بالله وكنتم أمواتا? How are you going to ignore Allah when you were once dead? Amwata, from the word maut, dead, nothing. You were nothing, my brothers and my sisters, at one point in time, were you not? Go back 25 years, go back 30 years, where were we? Who do we really think we are? We didn't exist at one time, on the day of judgment. Or I should say rather, when everything's destroyed. Everything is gone. Everything. The angels, the mountains, the stratosphere, cosmoses, everything gone. On that day, when Allah is the only thing left, He will say, لِمَلِكَ الْمُلْكَ الْيَوْمِ, to whom is the kingdom today? To whom is the kingdom today? Allah will ask, and no one will reply. Who do we think we are, my brothers and my sisters, walking so haughtily on this earth? At one point, we were nothing. Just think about that for a second. We were nothing. And Allah gave us life. And Allah is going to make us die. Allah is going to make us die. We are going to go. This is very temporary. We are going to go. And who else are we going to return to when we go except to Him? If He's the one who can give us life in the first place, can He not give us life again when we're gone? This is one of the most core messages of Islam, and it's something that I think we don't often reflect on enough, my brothers and my sisters. So when we end the session today, and we are ending it in seconds, this is over, I want us to remember one thing. Reflect over the ayahs, of course, but one thing, please, my brothers and my sisters, try this. Read 2 rak'ahs. I beg you, read 2 rak'ahs. Thinking about ayah 22 that we've done today. Go over the translation if you want to, and pray that salah, 2 rak'ahs, a few minutes, doesn't matter. 2 rak'ahs, my brothers and my sisters, with no other intention except just to say thank you for everything Allah has given us. And that's it. That's why we're praying. No other reason but to say thank you, and watch how you feel in that prayer. Subhanaka rabbana rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. I'll see you all tomorrow, inshallah. We will go from ayah 30 to 39, the end of 39. So from ayah 30 to the end of 39. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.